Run, party, repeat. Welcome to the East Coast Adventures Dirt and Vert Podcast, where we talk all things running, racing, and training to help you get ready for your next big adventure.
Learn from our successes and our failures, and have fun at the same time. Join us right here every week with inspiring guests who share their captivating tales from the trails. And remember, nobody cares.
Run faster.
All right. Welcome back to the Dirt and Vert Podcast. I'm David.
And I'm Matt.
And we have Dusty Jameson with us today. He's actually a part of the Nobody Cares Run Faster team, 2 years on now. And proudly, we are so excited for Dusty because he just, he's been chasing this goal for a few years now, and he just got it.
Oh, yeah.
And it was the Oak Ridge to Kingston Express, a marathon that he just did this past weekend. And it was on a Sunday morning. So, unusual normal time, but it's Sunday morning. Most races are on a Saturday, but
6:30 in the morning too.
And it's a very low-key, low-frills marathon that's just for, like 40 to 50 runners at most. And it's really for people that's trying to BQ or, run a certain time. And Dusty's goal for the last few years, I would say the last 3 years, Dusty?
Yeah, it really tracks back to 10 years, but yeah.
Okay.
But
10 years.
Yeah.
To run sub-3 in the marathon. And Dusty just did that. So he ran 2:59 and finished, he's been super close his last couple of marathons, just slightly over 3 hours. I mean, really close, but just could never get that couple of minutes shaved off. And, by no means is this course an easy course either. It's still got some rolling hills. It's on the side of a highway and it's an out and back.
Yeah.
So we, got to experience some of that and watch Dusty go for this thing. But, I think one of the things that Dusty did really well in this race, and I've not seen him race his other marathons, so I can't really say much for those, but I will tell you before we turn this over to Dusty that he ran a very smart race. And I think that's one of the benefits of, just time of training and time of failures and learning and growing. And that's understanding that, when you're in 100-mile race, and you run a little too fast, you can walk it off and try to get back into it. But in a marathon, you don't have that luxury if you're trying to race for a goal like this. And seconds matter.
Yes.
If you run a 6:40 instead of a 6:50, that's a completely different race for 26 miles. And it literally does come down to seconds if you can do it. And Dusty could not have ran any other pace than what he ran and do what he just did. He ran basically like a 6:50 marathon almost the whole way, and he finished in 2:59. So that was a perfectly ran race. I mean, think about this, guys. If he would have had to have potty one time, this race was over, and that's the thing. It's like that crucial to, make sure that you run the pace you've been training for. And Dusty, congratulations. We're all excited for you. Super huge accomplishment. Not a lot of people have ever ran under sub-3. It's still a small amount of runners in this world anyways, but then to go sub-3 is a huge feat. Yeah. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And most importantly now, tell us a little about who you are and how you got into running.
Yeah. Well, thank you all for having me for one. I'm Dusty Jameson. I was born here in East Tennessee, lived here my whole life. Went to college at MTSU. That was the only time I somewhat moved away, but born in Knoxville, live in Knoxville now. Got a beautiful wife, 11 years. We got married in 2015. We got married on New Year's, right when the ball drops.
Oh, that's cool.
12:01 a.m., 2015, January 1st. So, got a wife, got 2 boys. I've got a 17-year-old son and another 8-year-old son. So that's who I am. I own a couple of businesses here in Knoxville. I've got a home inspection company and a radon mitigation company. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. In terms of running and I guess what you would call my running career, if that's what you would say, but my running journey, I was actually listening to the podcast earlier. I was listening to Audrey's podcast, but Dave, right when I pulled in the driveway, David was talking about he hated running, prior to getting into it, and I was kind of the same way. I did not like running. I was a ball sport athlete growing up, mainly basketball. I played some football, but not into high school. But in high school, and then and recreationally in college, I played a lot of basketball. Flag football too, but yeah, ball sport athlete, hated endurance sports, didn't have any desire to go run other than, is it going to make me better for these ball sports? I got into running really the same way that I got into a lot of stuff through my life, which was looking up to my older brother. I've got an older brother. He's about 5 years older than me. His name's Greg. I've looked up to Greg my whole life, still do to this day. He's a great man. But back in 2000, early 2000, like 2010 or so, he was running a lot. I thought he was crazy. He would call me and tell me, he just ran 15 miles on a Saturday morning. I thought that sounded dumb. But he organized, so in 2012, he organized a 5K in Loudon for my older son, Carson, who has hemophilia. And so my brother organized the 5K to help the foundation that he was a part of. So I didn't know anything about running. I didn't know anything about 5Ks, how they played out. I guess technically I was a race director. I didn't know what that was or what that entailed. But he put this 5K together, and I thought, okay, if there's going to be a 5K, I better figure out how to run it. So I started, I guess what you would call training for this 5K. Fast forward to that race day. Obviously, if I'm a race director, then you can't really run the race if you're directing it. And so I learned that one. But I was somewhat trained for this 5K enough to at least complete it. The Knoxville Expo was just a couple of weeks after that 5K. And I thought, well, you know what, since I'm in shape enough to run this 5K, let me sign up for the Expo. So I ended up running the Expo 5K. I ended up placing. It was not any sort of spectacular time by any stretch. There probably just wasn't anybody in my age group there that day. So I did place though. And I thought, this is kind of cool. And at the time I only had my first son, but I was kind of stepping away from ball sports. At the time I was playing some flag football and still playing a lot of basketball, just pickup games and things like that. But with needing to provide for the family, I thought, I can't blow out a knee. So I was starting to kind of step away from wanting to play those things as much. So when I ran the Expo and when I did at least place, it sparked some sort of like, oh, I can compete in these things. It's a way to safely compete without having to worry about blowing my knee out and I can't work the next week. So really from 2012, I somehow went from running that first 5K to eventually training for a marathon. I mean, just went straight to it. And Greg and his friend, Scott McIntosh, they were running a lot. They were doing some marathons. And so I think they were training for Chickamauga. So they training for that, but I can't remember how exactly it all played out. But my first marathon was the Knoxville Marathon, which was 2013. So ended up training all of 2012, ran some races, but like I said, just went straight to the marathon. 2013 rolled around and I ran that first marathon. I think I got in just under 4 hours. But, from there, over the course of the next 2 to 3 years, just started trying to chip away at that marathon time because I really did like that distance. I ran some other races. I ran ultras. I was running some 5Ks and 10Ks, different types of stuff, but I just always kept having a draw towards the marathon. I will say in early 2013, kind of in the taper phase for leading into Knoxville, I started going through a divorce and, going through a divorce. And so having running as an outlet during that time, I think I really, fed into what that could do for me. It was just a way to kind of handle everything that was happening. So yeah, I ran that first marathon in the thick of the divorce, and it was tough, but the training ended up being an outlet for me. So I think that's what drew me even after that marathon to keep going to something, more, was it was just such a good outlet. So yeah, over the course of the next 2 or 3 years, really from 2013 until about 2016, I just worked on cutting down the marathon time. 2015, I ran a 3:04 in Toronto. And then in spring of 16, I ran another 3:04 in Virginia Beach. So those were like, all right, I'm right there. That's when I really started thinking like, hey, I think I can get to sub-3 here. And both of those runs. So I'll quickly say that Toronto, going into that race, that wasn't the A race. The A race was actually going to be Chickamauga, which was like 3 or 4 weeks later. I was supposed to only do a training run in Toronto, and I ended up, getting into it and racing it, and then of course blew up in Chickamauga a couple of weeks later because it was just too close by. But I knew I was kind of close to a 3-hour marathon, and then in the spring, I got injured. I had some sort of Achilles issue. And so leading into Virginia Beach, I was injured. And so it wasn't, I was like, I'm faster than this. These, everything just didn't line up for that. But that's when the big, life events happened. So 2016, leading into the fall, I ended up getting a really, really bad case of plantar fasciitis. It just knocked me out. And so I dealt with it for about 2 years. I tried to do all kinds of different things, just never could shake it. And of course, fitness kind of goes away a little bit, and eventually you're like, man, I've got to rebuild back. And then, life happens. We had another kid. I had to do some things to work to get us out of a financial place that we were in at the time. So really, running just kind of took a background. So from 2016 up till really around 2021, 2022. It was just very, very inconsistent. There's a huge gap there of really not training for anything. I think I ran a couple of ultras during that time. I ran some races, but they weren't anything to speak of. It was just, I would get into a base level fitness, and then work would take over and I wouldn't run for another 2 or 3 months. So I had a really big gap. But in 2022 is when I started getting more consistent. To your point earlier about how long has this been, in the back of my mind, that really started to pick back up back in 2022 or early 2023. In 2022, I started doing 75 hard, and I lived right next to a trail that was about 4 or 5. I could get 4 or 5 miles very, very easily. And so for me on a trail, that was roughly 45 minutes, which I needed for that, part of that program. So I started doing this unintentionally. I started running for about 45 minutes every day. And I ended up having, months and months on end of just base training. That's all it was, sprinkle in a long run here or there, but it was not strategic by any means. But looking back on it now, I'm like, oh, I just did like a huge base build in 2022. And then in 2023, I had a friend that was going to run the pistol half and he couldn't run it. And he said, hey, let me see if I can transfer this over. If you're interested, you can run this half. We weren't able to do that, but I was like, you know what? I'll go run the half. And I went and ran the half, and I got like a 135, which my PR was like at the time like a 129, so a 129 high. Like I just snuck under 130. So full circle here to say that in 2023, when I ran that 135, I'm like, I probably am not that far from getting back into shape. I thought it would probably be a couple of years before I could really take a swing, a legitimate swing at it. But I'm like, I'm not that far off. Let me just give this a shot again. So I ended up hiring a coach in 23, trained all summer. I had about 6 months of really, really hard training. And I think I was, I could have given it a legitimate shot in that fall. I had Columbus Marathon lined up, but I ended up getting a bone stress injury. So this was fall of 23. I had a stress reaction in my femur. I went through the full training block, first week of taper, first run of the taper. I was going on a 10-mile easy run and got finished and something didn't feel right. And yeah, so I had about close to 3 months of little to no running. That was in September or October of 23. Started kind of running again on and off in December, but ended up taking another couple of weeks off. So, got through that. 2024 rolled around. I ended up starting to work with the coach that I have now. And in 2024, we started really trying to build back the fitness that I'd kind of lost over that injury time. So yeah, that's for me. I see my journey or career, however you want to call it. I see it in two parts. I see that first initial part of building fitness, 5-year gap in the middle, and then kind of the rebirth of running in my life back in 2022, 2023. So the first, and again, it's the marathon always entices me. I do these I've done other races. I've done a lot of different other things in terms of running, but the marathon is just what I always go to. And so getting back into it, the first real crack at the marathon was 2024 in the fall. And to David's point that he was mentioning earlier, there's a drastic difference if you're fit enough to, run a 3-hour marathon. You got to run a 6:52 pace for all 26 miles. If you're not quite there and you try that pace, you're on borrowed time. And it's usually around that last, depending on how fast you're going above your fitness level, it's about that last 5 or 6 miles that it's going to come back. And that was Toronto. So most recent races, we're kind of there, but Toronto of 24, I got about 18 to 20 miles in, running a sub-3 pace, and then crashed hard. And that crash ended up being a 3:10. I've always looked at that race and said I was probably in shape to run like a 3:05 or a 3:06, but you can't do that if you're pacing it wrong for the first 20. You have to pace it right the whole way through. And so, yeah, that was that was fall of 24. Spring of 25, I took another crack at it at Athens, Ohio. To date, that's probably still my favorite marathon. I love that course. I just love the time that it happens at the year. It's a really good race. I got a 3-hour, 29-second at Toronto or at Athens. So I was 29 seconds off. I've had some people talk about or ask me, is it torture being that close? And the honest answer is no. 29 seconds, it's quite a bit of time. I mean, that's not 2 or 3 seconds. 2 or 3 seconds you can find anywhere on the course. 29, yeah, I mean, you got to kind of look for that. And I don't think that I was fit enough to run just under 3 hours at that race. So I was completely satisfied. Yeah, I missed my mark, but I know I'm right there at it. Next one was fall of 25. So I went to Indy, the Indy Marathon last fall, and I was in better shape for Indy than I was for Athens. So, I mean, it was a foregone conclusion. It's going to happen. I just need to line up and do it. The problem was I think I was overtrained. That race is still fairly interesting to me. I raced it and was not motivated the entire time. From pretty much like 8 to 10 miles in, I was just ready to get off the course. I knew that at some point it was going to get hard, and I didn't know whether or not I would. I was just like, I don't know if I'm going to have the motivation to do this. I ended up sticking out the whole race. I fell off pace. I had about 20 miles, and I didn't fall off terribly hard though. But looking back on it, I was just overtrained. I had no motivation to go run during that time. It's like, I want to get this over with. I want to get off the course. I don't want to go out and do my training runs. Like, all of those things are not hard for me to do on a day in, day out basis. I run all the time. I enjoy it 90% of the time. During that time period, I didn't enjoy anything. I was overcooked. So I ran a 3:01 there. And shortly after that race, I met with my coach, and we kind of talked about, okay, what's next? And, I was just like, I'm in shape to do this. I need to get to the marathon. You need to get to the start line in the appropriate way. And so, he had a couple of ideas, and I said, honestly, this Oak Ridge to Kingston Marathon, there's not a lot of people there. So that was one thing about Indy. So Indy's a great course. The atmosphere is great. And there's 20,000 people that run it. I mean, it's massive. That was a lonely race. Like, when I was there, I don't know anybody. And I was running through the streets. Ashley was in the hotel room, But other than that, like I had no connection with anybody on that course. In the 3 hour pace group, they went out at a pace that I didn't like what they were doing. So I wanted to stay away from them. So I ran that race all by myself in the middle of 20,000 people, but it felt quote unquote lonely. And I was like, I started looking at options for what to do in the spring. And he was like, find a race that excites you. And, we were just kind of talking through the options. And I said, I think that this Oak Ridge race is really going to fit well because I can have my people around me. I can have my community with me. I can have people running with me the whole time. I can have Ashley spotting me on the course. Like I can have all the pieces that I want to be there. It was like, I think I had 15 weeks to turn around. And so, basically we just turned around. I did a, quick recovery and then kind of tapered back into training. The fitness was there. We just needed to get it from the fall to the spring without overdoing it. Needed to kind of reset my life. And some of it was, some of the overtraining was running related, but stress is stress. I hear Mary say it all the time, stress is stress. And so I have life stresses. I have businesses that I run. I have, things that I have to do. And so it was a matter of like making sure all of those pieces, work together. And I ended up coming into this race, really dropping down my training load. And I saw my fitness start rising after that. So I kind of knew I was doing all the right steps coming into it. But yeah, I think I've been in the right fitness space for a little while, but it was a matter of getting everything to where it should be to lead me into this race. And so that's where we're at now is, I was able to run that Kingston race and everything went exactly as planned. I mean, I had a spreadsheet and my goal time on my spreadsheet was 2:59:40. That's what I had programmed into my watch. That was every mile was accounted for, and I finished in 2:59:33. So it worked out pretty well.
Oh yeah.
But it takes that level of detail to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I will say, like, Dusty was calling out his paces every mile.
Yeah. I had it to get into that race. The thing that I loved about Athens, Ohio was there's a total of 90 feet of elevation gain, less than 100 feet, the whole race.
Wow, that's crazy.
It's an out and back. It's on a greenway with asphalt and tree coverage. So you're pretty much in the shade the entire time. You're on asphalt. It's even. It's not banked in either direction. And the elevation happens on the way out. It's a steady gradual up on the way out. So you have 13 miles on the way back of gradual down. It's like 1%. I mean, not even that in most spots. But yeah, the elevation is going out and then the decline is coming back. So I love that race versus Oak Ridge to Kingston. It's an out and back too, but I mean, it's broken down mainly into two parts. You have a downhill start. And then when David picked up, it was 7 miles in, we climbed to the halfway point. And then you do that in reverse. So you finish on a 6 mile net uphill. I knew that was coming. So yeah, in terms of plotting out that specific race and how to run it, I had to have every mile dialed to exactly what it should be. I knew where I could gain a little bit of time if I needed to. I knew where it was going to get tough, and it did. It got really tough. But yeah, I mean, you had to plot that course out for me. I mean, the fact is, I could probably, like on an Athens course on a really, really cold day, I could maybe squeeze under 2:59. I think that's where my fitness is at. On this Oak Ridge to Kingston course, you've got some more elevation that you have to deal with. So I think I squeezed all of my fitness out with the race that we ran. I was under, I think I was like maybe a 20-second positive split as opposed to a negative split. So it means I was right there on the threshold of what I could do. So I'm proud of it. I mean, it's all of that to say that I'm proud of it, but I think that was my total fitness for that day. I don't think there's anything more I could have got out of that course on that day.
Yeah. You left everything you had out on the table and out of the field.
Out in the field.
Yeah. Just to give you guys like an idea of the level of effort, and and that's the thing. It level of effort dictates how hard a race is for you. Like, we all know this. Like, if you run 100 miles, it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
But if you run 100 miles at a pace of like 9 minutes or 10 minutes, that's a different hard than, 3 or 4 miles an hour. And same thing for a marathon. You can go run a 5 or 6 hour marathon. You're going to hurt, but you're not going to have the same hurt as you are trying to hold a 650, 640, 6, whatever your goal is.
Whatever goal is, yeah.
And that's all relative to fitness. And those two things marry up, effort and fitness. You always want to try to run a race close. Your effort should match your fitness. And, what we were talking about in the beginning is when your effort exceeds your fitness, that's when those last 6 miles of a marathon are the worst day ever, because there's nothing. You can have a bad day out on a 100-mile course, walk it out and be done. But when you're getting buried in a marathon at mile 20 and you still have 6 miles left and you have to run, that's the worst feeling ever. Right. I mean, it's hard. And you can walk it out, but like, that's the walk of shame for sure, and that's the difference is like, and for Dusty, he matched his effort to his fitness almost perfect in this race, because I kid you not, when we turned around at the half marathon part, the clock said 1:29:30. What was it?
1:29:30.
Yeah, 1:29:30. Like we were right on track. Yes. Like when we turned, and and then Mary picked him up, and I met him at the finish line, and when the clock clicked over to 2:58, I didn't see Dusty. And I was really worried at this point. And then at 2:59, I saw them take the coming into the coming in, and I'm like, my gosh. And they run up but here's how close his effort was to his fitness. Was he crossed the finish line, and 10 seconds later he puked.
Yep.
That shows that like there really wasn't much left in the tank, because you timed it almost perfect. And that's like what you want to do. Like, that's not a terrible thing to do that at the end of a race. If it's terrible to do it in the middle of the race, like,
yeah.
But that just shows like you knew your fitness, you knew where you were at, and you shot your shot, and it just worked out just perfect. Like you said, the last mile or two, like you could tell you were feeling it really bad.
Yeah.
But that's where the work is. That's where that entire 60 and 70 mile weeks to run a 26-mile marathon come into play, and that's where it's at. It's that work. And, that's the one thing you can never, ever skip in all of this. Like, if you want to do this in a marathon, the work is what really matters. You can show up on race day, but if you haven't put the work in, you're not there. And man, it's an art. Like, and it's taken you a while to like dial in those 5 minutes, like that's literally it. Like, you've been trying to catch those 5 minutes, which doesn't seem like a lot, but in a marathon, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. And if I look at my races that I've ran some really well. I've ran some really poorly. I always look at the recent Toronto race where I ran a 3:10. Like, I don't care. I'm glad I did that. It showed me where I was. I blew up. Obviously, I wish I would have ran a sub-3 there, but I wasn't in the fitness. I hadn't earned it yet. So, like, I can look at that, and that one doesn't even hurt. Like, I'm like, yeah, I ran a 3:10. I was wanting to do a sub-3. I'm 10 minutes off, but it's like, I'm just not there yet. That's fine. Best 2 races I've executed were Athens, Ohio, and this past weekend in Kingston or Oak Ridge. Both of those races are the only 2 that I've ever thrown up at. But I mean, as soon as I crossed Sunday, I didn't feel anything during the race in terms of like being sick or nauseous or anything like that. There's nothing. But I mean, when I stopped, it's coming up. Headed over to the weeds, and yeah, and
that was it. It was 3 or 4 minutes and you were done. There was no, and then we were all back to talking.
Yeah, exactly.
And I missed the good footage. I got the second puke, but I missed the first one. The first one was the best one. The rest is just like, it's kind of like when you run out of gas, you get a couple of sputters. That's all we were getting at that
dry heave.
Yeah, my abs were cramping at the same time. I couldn't even lean over because they were cramping so bad. Yeah, the last 6 miles of that race are tough. They're net uphill. I mean, the last 6 miles of any marathon is going to be tough. But if you add that you're climbing the whole time, that it was challenging. But I mean, the whole point of doing that race was to be surrounded by the people that I needed there. I don't think I would have finished when I did if it weren't for you guys there. You know, David picked up at mile 7. Mary picked up around mile 16, and then we got Stu picked up at mile 19 or 20. We actually had David. I don't know if you heard how it happened, but at mile, I think Mary had been running with me for maybe 2 miles, and I heard footsteps behind me, and I thought, who just tracked me down? Like, who caught me? Because I was running steady the whole time, and it was Kiera. This girl in the blue, and she came up beside me and she said, I had to throw down a couple of 6:30s to catch up with you guys, but I didn't want to run alone. And so she joined us, and she was awesome. Just having her there, that was her first ever marathon. She did great. She ended up pulling away about 20 seconds ahead of me towards the tail end of it. But having her, it was Mary, Kiara, and then Stu. So having that group, I didn't say very much. I was in the pain cave, hurting. But having them there talking, that's what pulled me through those last few miles for sure.
Yeah, I heard Stu was telling you that you only had like eight clicks left or something. What was he saying?
We were getting up close to the guard
quarters.
shack.
It was quarters.
Well, we had quarters. So, but first though, we were coming up close to the guard shack, and we were still a mile. I mean, it was right before we met you. And Stu said, "Oh, just around this turn, you're going to see the guard shack." And I just started laughing. I said, "No, we're not, Stu. It's still a couple of miles away." He's like, "You've done too much research here," but I had. I mean, I knew every up and down on that course. I've been out there the past 15 weeks. Every long run has been on the course. Anything I've been doing, most of it, I shouldn't say every one. There's some that I've ran at different spots, but I would say the majority of my long runs for training have been on the course. So yeah, I knew it front to back. I knew where everything was. And yeah, Stu started lying about where the guard shack was. And then he started saying, "Oh, you've only got 6 quarters left." He was doing all kinds of mental math. I said, "Well, I'm not going to fight you there. I can't think of it now." So
yeah. And quarters made sense once I understood what he was talking about. He was talking about quarters like in a quarter-mile loop.
Yeah.
Like a quarter.
Okay.
So he ran track it for UT.
Yeah.
So quarters to him meant, I've got a quarter of a mile left. I got 1 loop left. That's all I got left. So he was like, to Dusty, it was like Dusty probably took him a minute. I'm sure you figured it out, but like, he said, I have 6 quarters. You only have 6 quarters left.
Yeah.
So
it actually helped. I mean, when he said that, my mind automatically, I can run 6 laps. I thought of that immediately. But yeah, I mean, the last little bit, it's funny. I've been trying to do this for so long, and realistically, like the last 3 years, that's what it's been. It's been this goal, but you play in your head how it's going to look when you finish and what, when you're coming. For me, it's like, okay, I'm coming down the final part of it. I want to have Mary there. David's going to be there. Stu's there. Like all these people, and you think about what it's going to look like. And I couldn't smile. I couldn't give high fives or anything. I was hurting. It was just like, look, get me across the line and let me stop for a second, because there was no stopping during that. Like you said, there's no restroom break. It was 3 straight hours, just under 3 straight hours of running. The closest I came to stopping during that time was just that hairpin turn, and that was it. So, but yeah, it didn't.
You did it.
It didn't look like I thought it would, but it was still just as sweet. So.
Yeah.
Or did it feel like you thought it would?
No, it felt worse. I thought that when I got to the point where I knew it was going to happen, I would be excited, but I wasn't, because I was hurting so bad.
Yeah.
You just hurt. If you're running at the tip of your fitness level, full effort, it's going to hurt. And yeah, after almost 3 hours of it, it hurt bad. So it didn't feel like it, because I thought I would be excited, but I wasn't excited until I was able to throw up. And then first person I saw when I turned around was David. And I said, hell yeah, it was like, how have you been? But yeah, I needed to get that throw up out of me. So
Starts with a 2, baby. It starts with a 2.
right. It starts with a 2. 2 something.
So you got to say, I run a 2 something.
2 something. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I think I was more nervous than you running a 650 pace. I told Mary on the way there, I was like, I underestimated Taco Bell, the 50K, like how much work that was going to be.
Yeah.
And then, I packed everything up that night and I didn't get home till like 9. And the Lexus today, it's still packed with everything from Taco Bell. Like I didn't even bother because like it was enough work just to take it all down and load it up. And like when I pulled in, I walked in here, took a shower. Mary handed me a bowl of spaghetti. I kid you not. She handed me a bowl of spaghetti. And I said, what time do we got to get up? She said 4. And I'm like, she's like, I know. I was like, it's fine. It's fine. I was like, how many miles am I running with Dusty? She said, I think like 8. And I'm like, fuck. I was like, 8? Are you sure? She's like, yeah. I was like, okay. I was like, should I tell him that if I can't keep up just to drop me? She's like, don't tell him that. Don't even put that in his head. I'm like, I'm just throwing it out there, Yeah. So we get up that morning, we were driving. And what was funny was I fell asleep that night with that bowl of spaghetti in my hands. Mary took the bowl and she's like, just go to sleep. I'm like, okay. So I went to bed and got up, and on the way there, I'm driving and I'm like, you think I should tell Dusty that I may not be able to make it like past mile 5 at 60? She's like, you stop. Don't even say it. Don't even put that into existence. I'm like, I'm serious. I was like, I've not ran a 650 pace in like 6 months. I was like, I don't even know if I could do it.
I don't think I could right now.
And then we get to mile 7, which is where I'm going to pick Dusty up. And I lube up, make my Hyperlight in my bottle, put caffeine on a drip into my mouth, and just like drink as much as I can with pills and of caffeine, and then I go and I run like a mile. And this is what's funny is I go run a mile before Dusty gets there. So I run a mile and then I do strides, and then Dusty's not there. So then I run back out and I run back. And Dusty's not there. And I'm like, and I'm starting to get like, I don't want to get cold at this point, So I run out and I run back and I run out and I run back. And then they're like, there's Dusty. I was like, okay. So I had like, I only had like a mile, 1.25 miles. I didn't run that far. But I was sweating like a fiend.
Yes,
like, I bet when Dusty saw me, I mean, I think he's already said that. He was like, what's happened? What's happened?
Yeah, well, when I started to get scared because I was kind of just focused on feet. I was just looking down, not really paying attention. But I ended up at one point looking at David's back, and the sun had just came out, and I'm looking at his back, and it's just soaked. And I'm like, oh no, it's starting to get hot. And I'm like, wait a minute, it's David. David sweats if he looks at his running shoes. I think I'm all right.
Absolutely. And what's funny is I hand Dusty his bottle. He comes through and I start jogging. I hand him his bottle. And this is the only conversation really me and him had.
Yeah.
I said, I'm going to run in front and I'm going to keep my mouth shut. If you need anything, let me know. And he said, I'm going to call out paces on certain spots. I said, okay. That was it. The only words we said for 8 miles. He would say 652. I would try to run 652. He would say 648. I would try to run 648. And when I saw Mary at mile 16, I was like, thank God we're here. We did it. And I mean, I told Mary after the fact, I said, because, we did our speed on the front side of our long runs, which was, I had to run 26 miles that day. So I ran that 650 pace. And then I actually drove down and met them again and ran one more time with them to get some film, which hurt like hell.
That was impressive.
That hurt to do that again after being in the car. But I do that, and then I drive to the finish line, and I'm running like a 10-minute pace now. My legs are like frozen. And I was like, it's going to be a long day. It's going to be a long day. I was like, but Dusty's still going to hurt worse than me today.
I don't know. Mine stopped after 2 hours 59 minutes. I got to stop. You had to keep going, so that was was impressive.
It's all good. It was fun though. And, to be honest, like it made me feel good that I could do that because I really didn't know. And then finally I was just like, I can gut it out. But I told Mary after the fact when we were driving home, I said, I could have probably have done a half marathon and then I would have died. I don't know if I would have made it a step. I mean, by the time that I handed you off to Mary, I might have had a few more miles in me at that pace, I was starting to feel it, but I was still able to hold the pace pretty good.
Yeah, you were spot on.
But let me tell you, man, I was throwing the calories to it to do that. Like I told Mary how many calories I had and she just started laughing. I was like, it's whatever. I had 400 calories mixed up just in my bottle.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. And I was going to make sure that we did it. I was like, I'm not going to let Dusty, it's not going to be my fault.
You were spot on. All of you guys were. I mean,
yeah, and that's the thing. Like at the end, you had exactly who you needed to have. Like Stu and Mary both having a conversation. Stu's a great storyteller. Mary is too. And like they were just, and I think you had it just right, and you had the right pacers when you needed them. Like you basically from mile 7 on, you had a pacer with you, and you didn't really have to think too much about am I on pace, am I off pace. Everybody was like doing that and helping, because math sucks when you're trying to run like that.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
man, like you did it. I want to go all the way back though. We talked about your story in the beginning, and then we've been on the marathon for a little while now.
Yeah.
Which we should be. It's important. Like that's a big deal.
Yeah.
But also another big deal too, though, is I want to talk about this because I think it's important for many reasons. But you got that stress fracture in your femur, and running is an outlet.
Yeah,
obviously for most of us, stress and other reasons, but biggest one is usually stress, and just like for our mental game. We need to run. We need to do something. For some people, they can work out. Some people can ride. Some people can run. If you're a runner, it's hard to find something to replace running. I've learned that. Yep. Like I can ride a bike and I'm okay, but it's never going to be running, but it works. I've had to do it. But for you were out for like 3 months, right? And I know you got the Peloton during this time, but how did that work, and like how did you feel? Like did you struggle any during this time, especially knowing that you were so close fitness wise to being able to do that marathon, and what a letdown right before that?
I think I knew that I could spiral if I let myself. I think I went into it with a little bit of knowledge to not let myself get to a bad spot. So fortunately, I didn't really struggle too bad. Yeah, I mean, when a doctor says you can't run for, I think when I finally got to him, it was at least 6 weeks. It's like, oh my gosh, but automatically started listening to, finding podcasts that had people that talked about injuries. And there's a guy, he's passed actually, Rylan Shadegg. He is somebody who does OCR type races, but I actually came across his page on Instagram, and one of the things that he said was, in essence, do what you can. Don't focus on what you can't do. Don't focus on not being able to run, because he was dealing with the same stuff. He could go ride a bike. He could go do other things. And so, I don't know. I think I just prepared myself really well during that time, because as soon as I knew I couldn't run, I knew that on the back end of that would be a potential spiral. And so I just dug into what I could and found other outlets. So I didn't really have too much of a problem with it, but only because it was very, very intentional to not let myself. But I ended up, I got the Peloton in Oh man, I spent hours on that thing, and fortunately, I could ride it with no pain. I mean, I could. It was fortunately for me too. It was a stress reaction. I didn't quite crack the bone. It was on its way to cracking, but recovery time's a little bit easier. But yeah, I could do the Peloton. I could hammer that thing for hours, and it wouldn't affect anything on my leg. So I was able to get my fitness outlet through that. That ended up being how and why I got with the coach that I've got now, as his approach to training and some things that he does. I'm 42 years old, so I can't go put tons and tons of miles on without the risk of injury. So I have to do things somewhat creative. So I ended up working with him through that. But yeah, the Peloton ended up being my outlet in terms of trying to keep some level of endurance. I lost a ton. I mean, I lost a ton of running fitness, but I was able to aerobically keep myself in good shape. But yeah, more so mentally. I know that's what you were asking, is the mental aspect. I really prepared myself well on that one, and I knew it could be a bad thing. I just didn't let it get to that spot.
Yeah, no, I mean, they're both important. Like, yeah, I asked, about how you dealt with it mentally, but like even aerobically, it's important to find something.
Yeah.
Because if you feel like, that's two parts. Like when you get injured, one is just knowing that you can't run.
Uh-huh.
The second part is sitting here thinking like, I'm going to lose all of my fitness, all of it.
Yeah.
Everything I've done, it's gone. Like it's garbage. I've lost my whole life at this point. Like everything, and that's where cross training comes into play. Yes, you're not using your legs, but you know what? You're still working on your VO2 max. You're still working on your aerobic fitness.
Yep.
Do something like, and you can always talk to a physical therapist or your doctor or whoever, and they can help you try to figure out something to do, whether it's rowing or riding a bike or swimming or something, you can find something to do.
Yeah.
But just like you and Stamen both, you both turn to the bike due to the stress fracture on your femurs, because there's no stress on that when you can ride a bike. That's different than like someone that breaks an ankle. You can't ride the bike either. So you got to figure something else out, but like it's finding something to keep you aerobically challenged is good. Yeah. It's never going to be the same as running. It's not, but it's at least something, and you can challenge yourself that way. And like, you just got to put things in perspective, and it's hard to do. So I'm glad you found a way to do that and to like find that perspective, because you could spiral real quick.
And I think that's, I think I learned that back in 2016 when I had that issue with my foot that would not go away. And, that was my first really big injury, with overuse and things like that. So I think I learned a lot through that, because that one was kind of a fitness spiral down, and just my fitness tanked after that. And, it ended up being a 5-year hiatus in essence, from running. So yeah, I didn't want that to happen again. And so I was able to stave that off. But yeah, I think I aerobically kept myself somewhat close. So whenever I picked back up in January or February after that, 3-month block, I was able to get it back somewhat quickly. I mean, it took some time, but I think my first big race after that was Three Sisters, in June of 24. But that was, kind of en route to Toronto. All the races that I have done the past few years are just these little either side quest or support races for the marathon. So looking at Three Sisters, it was kind of like, okay, that was a fun race. It was great to do, but that was really my quest to get back into the marathon. So it is nice. I'm glad that the goal has been met, to get away or to accomplish that 3-hour marathon, because I want to do other stuff, and I just don't want to be in marathon training 24/7. I want to do some other things and not have to worry about what marathon am I building for right now, because I still need to hit my goal. I can do other stuff and not have to worry about it. So I'm glad to be in that spot now.
Yeah, absolutely. What, and this is probably a hard question to answer. It is a hard question to answer, but I'm going to ask it.
Yeah.
Why do you think you ended up with a stress fracture?
I don't know. I've talked to Mary about it. I've talked to my current coach about it. Talked to my old coach about it. I've talked to the doctor about it. Everybody has somewhat varying opinions. Generally speaking, you're going to get a stress reaction or fracture in your femur. Generally speaking, if you're obviously it's an overuse injury, but if you're calorie deficient. Looking back, like that's one thing I want to do. I think I could improve further my marathon time. I mean, this is a different conversation, but I've got some weight I could probably lose and improve time. That's just a fact. It's not any sort of emotional thing to that. But during that time period, I hadn't really lost that much weight. So I don't think I was in a significant deficiency with calories. So I don't know. The doctor, talking with the doctor about it, he was asking, during my training block, did I lose a significant amount of weight? And I really didn't. So he attributed it. He just said, I think that it's just overuse. You're running only on the roads. You're running fast paces. You're running hard a lot. And so it seemed to just be this perfect storm of things, not any one specific thing. So I don't know. It is a hard question because I don't know the answer to it. If I would have lost 15 pounds, in 3 or 4 months, that's probably a calorie deficiency. But I didn't, so I can't answer it for sure. I think that it's just I was running a lot of miles. I was hitting 70 to 80 mile weeks, and 90% of those miles were on pavement, and a lot of those were fast miles. So I think that it was just overuse.
I mean, yeah, it obviously could have been.
Yep.
And that's the thing. It's hard to say. And, there's only so many things you can really track. We all try to track all these things. We all wear these watches. I mean, hell, my bed tells me what my heart rate variability is, but, and I try to track my calories, but most importantly, I track my protein. I try to always get 200 grams of protein every day.
Yeah.
And I may not always hit my calories or my carbs, but I try. And, and that's the thing. It can be overuse. It can also be, going from, this isn't you, but it can also be from going from trail to road, because pavement hits different than it does trail, and you have to, you have to build that stress up. Your legs have to get used to that, and eventually that will make your legs stronger, make your bones stronger. Like when you build that up, but just making that transition quickly can lead to stress fractures. Definitely overuse. Calories for sure is a big one, but it's hard to say if it's calories. Just because you're not losing weight, though, doesn't mean it's not calories. If your body is not getting enough calories, you may not actually lose weight. You may shut your metabolism off.
Yeah.
Well, and it's hard to say, though. Like it could be any of that stuff.
And I wonder too. I've wondered about just not necessarily calories, but nutrition. Where are those calories coming from? And that was part of it too. I'm like, I wonder if my diet was a little more cleaned up. I was getting more nutritious foods. I was still hitting protein, I'm sure, but not now. I take a calcium supplement just to be sure. I'm taking some things now to make sure that I'm getting what I should. But I think that maybe nutrition had something to do with it. Maybe I wasn't getting the calories from the right spots. So, maybe it wasn't reflective in the weight because the calories were still there, but it wasn't the right nutrient makeup.
Yeah. I mean, very well could be. Macros matter. I mean, they really do. They matter a lot.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize all that till I took those nutrition classes, but it does make a big difference in what you're taking and how your training is. And even your body mass index makes a difference in what you should be taking.
Yeah.
But that happened in 2023. So, you obviously are doing much better now with whatever you're doing. Were you doing strength training before then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I've always done some form. Back in 2020, 2021, I was doing more strength training than endurance work. I was doing plenty of strength training, so that was always a part of it.
Yeah, and that's probably why you don't ever have any problems with muscle, actual muscle fatigue like that. Everybody's going to experience muscle fatigue, but there's different levels.
Yeah.
And if you've done strength training, you can endure for longer. You've got that fatigue resistance, and having strong muscles helps so much in marathon distance and longer. It's just way different. In my opinion. So that's always something easy to do is strength train to help with that. But you were doing all that. So I don't. I hate that, man. That's just unfortunate timing. It literally could have just been miles. Were you taking days off?
No. I know still, and I don't
no days
still.
off.
Yeah, no.
You don't ever have a recovery day?
I recover, like, I'll go hop on the treadmill. Like right now, even after the marathon, I've still ran every day. This morning I did I like Tommy Rivs. I do his programs a lot, but like this morning it was 2 miles total. I think it was 31 minutes. It's on the treadmill, which has that flex deck. So it's real soft. It's incline. I think I had like 600 feet of vert this morning. So its impact is really low. So my recovery days look like that, where I'm still running, but it's very strategic on how I run. But yeah, we got the new puppy, and the puppy's, she's a lunatic sometimes. So we got to take her out. So I ran her the other day. I think it was Tuesday. I ran her 5 miles, or yesterday I ran her 5 miles.
She do okay?
Yeah, she did good.
That's awesome.
She did good. It was
That's
like a little run hike, but
that's a little ECA mascot.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. She was there at Gone Loco. But yeah, that's when I had the stress reaction. My recovery days were Sunday, and it was easy trail miles. I would go out and do like 5 or maybe 4 or 5 miles on the trail. If I was really shot from the day before, I'd walk the uphills. So I never really take a full recovery of not doing anything. I always just like to move, but I'm strategic with how I take them.
Well, don't fix it. Don't fix it if it's not broken. So if it's working for you, it's working for you. Like you just ran a sub-3 marathon, so it's obviously working for you. So
yeah, it'll be fun because now the training gets to change a little bit. I don't have to go back into this marathon build, and can go do the Cherokee race and do some JFK 50s. So that's the stuff that's coming up. And the cool part about doing the JFK, that's kind of my next target race. But I don't really have a specific time. Like I'm just going to run hard and run, I think, to my fitness level at that time. But I'm not chasing a number, and I've been chasing a number for so long. I'm just so glad now that I get to go run and not chase a number, just have fun.
Go have fun.
Yeah, man. And what a nostalgic race to do that at.
Yeah, that'll be a fun one.
We'll watch you.
They live stream.
I mean, Mountain Outpost, I think, live streams that one now, so it'll be fun.
Yeah.
But fun. I do want to, like, real quick before we jump into listener questions, like, you kind of hinted around, but 3 Sisters, you come back after the stress fracture, you run the 6 hour, you win the 6 hour, you run 36 miles in 6 hours, and you get first place. And you had been training really. I remember this because you had been training and you were using this race as training. Mm-hmm. You had a specific pace going into 3 Sisters, right? Like, and you ran that pace.
Kind of. I did. I ended up towards the end. So the benefit of 3 Sisters is as long as you start the lap, you get to finish it. So I wanted to finish. I wanted to finish everything within that 3 or 6 hours. We ended up stretching it into the 20 minutes past. Yeah. So I was a little bit off, but I was very, very, very close to it.
Yeah. I just remember you telling me you were doing that as a training run.
Yeah.
And I think it went really well.
He caught me because me and him ran together for a long time.
Yep.
And then the last, I think, 3 laps started having some weird stuff, and he caught me, man. He was just cruising. And then after that, I'm like, I just got to hold on for a second.
Yeah.
Well, and he was in good shape,
shape,
that was the thing. It's like he had been training on the Peloton, and all that built up frustration from stress fracture and finally getting to race, like I'm sure the adrenaline was pumping a little bit, but you win first place there, you come out to Gone Loco and you run the 33 miler or 55K, whatever you want to call it.
34 and a half miles.
But that was the first year that we decided to put the marathon distance in.
Uh-huh.
And you run a 3:05 marathon in the 55K, which is kind of cool, kind of fun. And then this year you did the half. I mean, well, I kind of say half, but it's the 11 miler, and you ran it in 1 hour and 25 minutes, and you got 4th overall. So I think it's fun to see that, like, you're running more than just marathons. You're running trails and other things, and you have in your past.
Well, yeah,
I think it's really fun now that you're going to do the Cherokee, which is completely different than anything you've ran. So I think you're going to love that. Like, I mean, you've ran Lookout, so it's not completely different, but it's still a point-to-point race. And have you ever done a point-to-point trail race like that?
Trail? No. The biggest trail races I've done, let's see, I did the Lookout 50. I actually met Mary back in, was it 2015 at the Chattanooga stage race.
Yep.
Me and Mary kept going back and forth. And eventually you just end up talking to somebody if you keep crossing paths with them. And that's how I met Mary, was back in 15. But no, I don't think that was point to point. That was the Chattanooga stage race. I've done several trail. Those are the bigger ones that I've done. Yeah, I was laughing, the Gone Loco last year, that 3:05 marathon within that 55K. It's a little bit deceiving, because after the marathon, it was a cliff. I went off of it intentionally. But yeah, I mean, so Athens marathon was 9 weeks after that 55K. And so my goal during the 55K was to run the marathon at about 95% effort for my fitness at that time, and then to take that little 5% that was left and try to finish the next 8 miles. And so I crossed over that 3:05 marathon, and I walked right off the bat, and Audrey came flying by a few minutes later. And but yeah, it was a struggle to hold on for that one. So yeah, that one was deceiving. You said that 3:05 in the midst of it. I'm like, well, that was deceiving, because it ended up taking me probably another 2 hours to finish that thing. But,
hey,
yeah.
It don't matter. It don't, and you still finished fourth. So
Yeah,
that's fine.
Yeah, I was able to hold. I think Cody wasn't far behind me.
Yeah,
we were just talking about that. He was closing in on me pretty quick, so that was fun.
Cody's pretty fast.
Yeah. He
and one of the things that we've been talking about and toying with is changing the 55K
to
a 50K.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And we may still do that. We gotta talk about it more before we move into that. But we're talking about certifying the course and making it a 50K.
Yep.
Because, like this year, just for instance, this is kind of crazy, Dusty. Top people in a 55K would be in the top 5 in the nation
for a
50K.
Yeah.
That's a fast course.
And that's what sucks is like Mary Alex and Audrey, they'd be in the top 10 for a 50K, but it's 55K. So they don't get, there's no category. There's nothing there. And it just kind of, to me, like, I hate that, because like they've worked so hard. They run so fast. And you go back over the years and you look at our performances, like last year, Brian Zickfoos, the year before, he ran it. I mean, God, he absolutely killed that course.
Mm-hmm.
He ran it in under 4 hours.
4, yeah.
Yep.
And, if it had been a 50K, but it also would help the marathon time too, I think, some, because you're shaving, 3.5 miles off the course to help people. So they could still run a hard marathon if they wanted to try to qualify for Boston and still finish the race decently.
Yeah.
But really it's more about, we would love to see people come out here and try to run a 50K and try to be in the top 100 in the United States. Cause like we have a great course for that. You've ran it. And I mean, you could have done it. Like, that's what's awesome. It's like a lot of talented runners around here, but no one's getting credit for that.
Yeah.
And
that course is great. The time of year is perfect. Every year the weather, even though I know some people had some rain towards the tail end of the race, but even if it rains a little bit, you're still on a runnable, very, very runnable course. So yeah, it's a great race. I love that one. So I sponsor it. I like it.
Yeah. Yes. Dusty is our sponsor, Inspector Clouseau. So it's if you've seen any,
to plug that, but yeah.
No, it's perfect. I'm glad you did. I was going to mention that at the very end, that you were our sponsor. You have been in the last 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah. I am looking forward to the 70K or the Cherokee 70. Yeah, that one's going to be fun. I'm planning on potentially doing Firewater too. I've ran that course all the time. I used to run it all the time, but I've never raced that race. So that'd be fun. I think I want to try that one as well.
Firewater
The
is one of my
50K is
favorite
perfect.
50Ks.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah,
it.
It's perfect.
It's a great course.
So what is your big race? Is it going to be JFK 50? Or is your big race out of the way this year and you're just chilling?
I mean, I guess everything's kind of a focus now towards the JFK 50, but like I don't have a goal for that. So it's more just like, okay, let's see what kind of fitness we can build between now and then. I plan on doing the Cherokee, hopefully Firewater. I signed up for the 1776 at Kefauver. I plan on doing some of I want to do a lot of 5K, 10K stuff. You do marathon training, you're not doing a whole lot of real fast, high end stuff. And so I think my fitness could benefit from that. So yeah, I just want to do just stuff that looks fun. Ashley's running Athens in a few weeks, so I'm happy for her. She's going to finally get to race a good race, and going to support her. But yeah, I don't have any specific goals other than just, some races to have fun with.
Yeah, man, you've earned that. You've put a lot of work into getting this. So enjoy a little bit this year.
Yeah.
Well, I will say that I have to ask you this question before we turn it over to Matt, because we ask everybody this question, Dusty. And that is, why do you run? Why put yourself through 3 years 10 years of torture? I mean, you get a stress fracture in your femur. You order a Peloton the next week just so you can keep training so that you don't lose sight of your goals. And, you spend, and let's just be honest, like the one thing that all of us don't have a lot of is time, and training is time. And we spend hours every week training for 26 miles, and that's the thing that people never see is all the miles you run for this one race. Like, hey, awesome, you did 26 miles. Yeah, but you didn't see the other 700 I've ran to train for this thing. Like, come on. That's what matters. Like, this race is whatever. But why do you do that? Like, why continue to put yourself through the stress and the pain and the suffering? And, just like this marathon, I mean, you ran your guts out literally, like at the very end, and you throw up, and you gave your all to do that, and you did something amazing. But why?
I guess there's probably 30 different answers at any given time. And it could be I run for one reason one day, and the next day it may be for something completely different. I don't know, taking it back all the way to when it initially started, it was a good way for me to compete without risking injury. That was the initial, this seems fun to me because I don't have to risk blowing out my knee playing basketball. I can go run and still compete with other people. And then you realize, well, I'm not really, I'm competing with other people, but like this big goal that I've had has been a competition with myself. It's been a goal that I set for myself. I don't care. Kiara that ran with us, I'm stoked for her. She ran 20 seconds faster than me. I was not racing her. I don't care what she ran. I had a specific race that I wanted to run. I will say, as a side note, that video of Matt and Micah running at the finish line, that was awesome. So that is competition. That is running against somebody else. That one was sweet. But, for me, the goal was always to get that 3-hour marathon. So I'm running my own race. And then if you take it to 2013, 2014 for myself, or what started out as, competition or just trying to do some things that wouldn't risk injury, then it changed into, I'm going through a divorce and my life is upside down right now, but I can get out on the road and I can run. I can get on the trail and clear my head out a little bit. I ended up at that same time too, I got a dog, and Bella was an Australian cattle dog, and she was my running mate. And it may sound dumb or cliche, but we ran thousands of miles together, and she never said a word to me, but she was my companion for a few years. And so you're going through a divorce, and you're in the woods all the time, and you got a dog running with you. You're gonna have an urge to do that as much as you can, and I did. So Bella, I hadn't mentioned anything about Bella, but she's been a big part of, my life, and especially with running. I mean, she ran miles with us. So now, I wanted to meet a goal. One cool thing about when I got finished with that race, I texted my older son, Carson. I texted him and I said, I sent him a screenshot of the time, and he said something like, "Let's go." He was happy, but he said, "Years in the making." And I was actually really glad that he said that, because he's been seeing me reach for this goal for years. And the first time I took an actual swing at it was in Chickamauga of 2000, and it was 2015. And I still remember I was on pace for a lot of it, but then I fell off, and I was just, I didn't get it, but I ended up getting like a 308. But when I crossed the line, he got at the medal and put it around my neck, but he was like, "You weren't even close." It's like, nope, I wasn't. I blew up. I wasn't. But, to bring that back to now, when I mentioned it to him and he said, years in the making, I'm like, I texted him back. I was like, yeah, I wanted to, part of it was wanting to show you and Asher, my other son, wanted to show you guys that you can set big goals for yourself. A 3-hour marathon may be easy for somebody. There's people who run, Kiara, that was her first marathon. She beat me by 20 seconds. She's awesome. That's great. For me, that was a big hurdle. And so setting a goal that was a big reach for myself, and then spending years working for it, missing it, quote unquote, failing and not hitting the mark, but then to eventually and finally do it. And for him to see that full circle, that meant a lot to me. So, that's just another reason why it meant something, or, running means something to me. So something as small as I just want to get out and go see a sunrise and have the dogs running beside me. It can be as simple as that, or it can be, as deep as, I want to show my son you can grit through some stuff in life and get through it. So, and everything in between. So I think that's the easiest way to explain it, is it goes to both ends of those, to that spectrum.
Great answer. Yeah. And also, I just want to say this because I think it's important. Like, you bring up a good point. Like, the marathon, 3 hour Sub-3 may be easy for some people, and it's not for others. And you're exactly right. It can be. It's just like a 4. Some people want to try to go Sub-4, and they've not been able to do that. So, like, it's all about what your ability is and how much you're willing to put the work in. And, and you say that about Kiara, but I think that was her name, Kiara.
Yeah.
But, the thing that we haven't mentioned on here is she's a collegiate runner. She was a collegiate runner. So here's the truth. She's probably been running longer than both of us.
Yeah. And here's the
she probably started running track in elementary school, and like she's in her 20s now. So like she ran for BYU and other colleges. Like she was
at Oklahoma. She corrected us. She was at Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. Okay.
Yeah, her friend was BYU. But to your point too, she also is probably, if she really legitimately trains for it for some time, she's probably could qualify for the Olympics. She could be an OTQ person. Yeah. This was just her first swing at it. She wanted to see what she could do. What if she actually trained for it? So, the truth is, she has her own goals, and I don't have any clue what, other than the conversation we had on the course that day. I don't know anything about her, but it's just everybody has their own approach. Everybody has their own goals. But yeah, my hurdle was that 3-hour marathon. Somebody else is completely different.
And I think that's important. And that's kind of what I was getting at. It's like everybody has their own story.
Yep.
And you don't compare yourself to somebody else, just like you didn't. You said, and you didn't care one bit. Like, you all were high-fiving and congratulating each other at the end. But the truth is she may have worked 3 times harder to do this because of what she was doing in college and before. And who knows? Like, we all, and I say this all the time when we show up at one of our events, like East Coast Adventures. And this goes the same for most race directors. Like, you don't know what everybody has went through out there.
Absolutely.
And, it's whether they've been training for a month or they've been training for 10 years. And here's the thing, like, some of these people have, some of our runners, like, it's just really, this is the most inspiring stuff to me, is like someone that's trained for 2 years that was obese, and they've just been running a mile a day, and they just ran a 12-hour 50K.
Mm-hmm.
It's the best thing in the world for them, because they never even thought they would run a 5K.
Yep.
You know, and like, that's the shit that's got to be celebrated.
Absolutely.
It's from the beginning to the end, everybody needs to be celebrated. Like, it's everybody is pushing themselves to their own goals. And like for you now, like if you ever go back to run a marathon, you're probably going to go for 250 or 255, you know, like, because that's how we are. You know, we want to continue to get better. And that's the thing. It's like, if you have a goal and you break it, set a new goal.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ever be satisfied. You know, always try to get better. And whether that's a 6-hour marathon or a 3-hour marathon, you know, and it's so fun to see that. And hell, we saw that at this race. I mean, me and Mary's still doing out and backs, and people are still finishing.
Yeah.
You know, and this was a small, low key race, just, you know, and people are out there trying to run their PRs, and that's awesome. And I think that just why this sport is so much different than most.
Mm-hmm.
Because it doesn't matter if you're the best, and it doesn't matter if you're the worst. What matters is that you're out there. That's all that matters. And like, that's so cool, because you could have gave up 10 times on this marathon.
Oh, yeah.
Literally, you could have gave up every year for 10 years.
Yeah, exactly.
But you didn't. And man, what an example you've set for your kids. So congratulations, and we're super excited. And great answer.
Well, thank
you. Mr. Williams, all right, you, sir.
We got just a few questions here. During your marathons, what is your favorite shoe to wear?
Oh, Nike Alpha Fly.
Those things are squishy.
They're squishy. They're loud. You run in them, you hear them.
It's funny. When I parked and got behind them again to run, I told Stu at the end at the finish line, I said, literally, when I got out of the car and started chasing you guys with the camera, I said, all I heard was super shoes.
Yep.
All I could hear was the
thump, thump, thump.
Yeah. I was like, damn, it's like a super shoe community right here.
It's like at the Run Loco.
Yeah.
And you're pacing Ashley, and you just hear the wick, wick, wick. You're like, I need to get me some of them.
They work, though. They work.
Yeah. Nike Alpha Fly. That's my marathon shoe for sure. Actually, I've raced my 5K in that too. So yeah, it's my race shoe. I usually buy one a year, and I race out all year in it.
Perfect. It's working for you.
Yeah, it's working.
Yeah. Don't change it.
That's right.
I need to get me some super shoes. Maybe
just side note, I saw where Audrey just got her first set of carbon plates. I'm like, oh, that girl's got so much stuff. She's got room to grow.
Now that's a couple minutes right there.
Yes.
The next one is, what is your dream race that you would like to do?
Dream race.
He just did it Sunday.
Yeah, that's one thing about it. That was a business decision on Sunday. That one, it's a great race, but I mean, it's not, it's a stark difference from what Indy was. Indy's a huge, it's in the fall, it's a big city. Yeah, it's different than that. But I would like, New York seems fun. New York Marathon. I mean, I know there's ultras and stuff. Leadville would be fun, but I was actually just talking to somebody the other day. We were talking about Leadville, and I was like, it'd be hard to get acclimated over there at elevation and stuff. So I don't know. There's bigger, more grand races, but being a marathon junkie like I've been, I've kind of just looked at New York, and New York's hard to get into. So I'm like, New York seems like it would be fun just as an experience. I've not run Boston, so I still want to do Boston just to say at some point I've done it. I missed it by 3 seconds last year. So, so hopefully I got enough buffer, but I don't know. New York, I guess, would be my answer there.
I think I just saw where this year is the lowest they took for the New York Marathon.
Yeah.
So
I saw a post about some things that are harder to do to get into the New York Marathon, and it was something like get accepted to Harvard and, stuff like that. New York's a hard one. So I guess that's why it's enticing to me. It's so big, and it'd be a fun experience. So I don't think that's a great answer on a trail and ultra podcast. But
No,
yeah.
it's a good answer. It's funny, we've had guests on here that haven't run dirt or vert, so it's fine. It's at least you've ran on some trails, but that's not what it's about. It's just a name.
Yeah.
All right, we got like 2 more questions here. What is your go-to hydration during these races?
Martin. So Martin gels. I have to at some point, depending on how hot it is, I've got to get some LMNT. I've got to get a lot of sodium in. I do sweat a lot too, so I've got to get some sodium in. I have different stuff. There was what's it called? Scratch high carb mix that I used, and it had 50 grams of carbs in it per handheld. So David handed me a handheld, and Mary handed me one, and each of those, between the two, there was 100 grams of carbs that came through those. So those are all my carbs. Plus I had about 8 Martin gels. So Martin's my go-to.
It's a good gel. Yeah, I used it for a long time.
That's when I got my PR, was when I was using those.
Yeah, I do like the texture of it. I know a lot of people don't like the texture, but the texture works good for me.
I was to say, you can make it in one swallow. Like it just all goes down. It doesn't stick in your mouth, or you don't have to do anything. It's just
no weird flavors.
You just squirt and swallow.
Yeah.
Yep. That and a bunch of caffeine. I think I probably had, I don't know, close to 1,000 milligrams of caffeine during that race. So yeah, I was jacked up.
I hope nobody turns this into a reel.
That's what I did. Like for the gels, I mean, I only took the caffeine ones. When I did good, it was only caffeine, nothing else.
Mm-hmm. That's I went back and forth. I'd have a caffeine, then I'd have a regular.
I feel you. All right. During a trail race, would you rather have a sweet or salty snack at the aid stations?
So I ran Holston Endurance Challenge years ago, and during that race, it was a looped course, and on the one loop I would come in, I would have a potato dipped in salt, and that hit the spot. I was like, "Oh, this is great!" But I would get the next loop in, I would get a snow cone that had sugar in it and ice. So I'd chomp on the ice, I'd get back around and have my potato and salt, and I'd chomp on some more ice and snow cone. So yeah, I like both actually. I don't have one or the other. It's going to usually be a mix. Even at Three Sisters, I was eating peanut butter crackers, so I had some salty there. But every lap in, Ashley was standing at the top of the hill waiting on me. She'd say, "What do you want?" I said, "Sprite. Give me some Sprite." So
wow.
Yeah. So it's whatever hits that day. But yeah, it's mix of both.
All right, and the last question is, what race in 2026 are you most excited for?
The one I just did. I mean, it was that one, but I guess now projecting forward, it's going to be the JFK. That's just going to be a fun race. I'm excited about that one. Excited to train for it too, because you need a mix of both road and trail to really train good for that one. So I'm excited for the variety. I'm excited to not have a specific goal time. However, I've already looked up, like, okay, who won the age group for my age this past year. So I'm like, oh, I could run that probably, so already putting a target on
That's
it.
That's how it starts.
Yeah. But no, JFK I guess would be the main one that I'm looking forward to. But obviously the other stuff too. I mean, I'm excited about Cherokee, excited about Firewater too. Those are local races that I haven't ever had the chance to run, so those are on the map too.
2 good ones.
Very good.
One last question from me.
Yeah.
Sunday morning.
Yep.
Were you stressed or were you nervous?
Before?
Yeah.
You talking about before the race?
Before.
Neither. Somebody asked me that before. I think Ashley even asked me too. I had a plan. I am very dialed in on my fitness. I kind of know where that's at any given time. I'm a data nerd, so when I start looking at stuff, I'm like, I think I'm capable to do X, Y, or Z. So I knew my fitness was there. The game plan, like I had a spreadsheet. Every mile was accounted for. And like David said, every time we would click over a mile, mile 8, when we started, I'd say, hey, this one's going to be a 52. Hey, this one's a 50, so everything was laid out. There was a question of whether it would happen or not. So I didn't know the outcome. I thought it would be there. But in terms of stress, I knew that the plan was laid out. I knew my fitness was there. And I knew when it came down to it, I wasn't going to quit. I wasn't going to stop. I was going to give everything I got. And chips will fall where they may. So for me in that race, it wasn't very stressful. I wasn't nervous. I just needed to execute the plan that was there. So I think that only comes from a lot of races, a lot of blowing up, a lot of cutting it close, but just being really dialed in and knowing where you're at and knowing that when it comes down to it, you're not going to quit. Because at mile 24, you're going to want to quit. and I did. I wanted to quit real bad, but Stu was there barking at me, and, Mary's, all I was doing was staring at Mary's feet and, listening to Stu and watching Kiara, run. It was just a great group to have, but that's what kept me from not quitting. So no, I wasn't nervous about it because of that reason.
I love it. Yeah, that's awesome, man. You didn't look nervous. I was just wanted to ask because I didn't know how you felt that race morning because I knew it was important to you.
Yeah. I mean, obviously there's always going to be some level of you don't know what's going to happen, but
yeah,
like I said, for me, if I know for a fact that when it gets hard, if I'm just not going to quit, I'm going to be fine with the outcome. If I missed, I missed. My fitness wasn't there. Whatever happened, but I'm not going to quit. So when Ashley asked me about it the night before, she's like, "Are you nervous?" I'd be a nervous wreck. I'm like, "No, I got a game plan. I know I'm going to try as hard as I can. What else is there to do?"
Yep.
That was it.
Well said. Yep. We all need a little bit of that. Like, that's the thing. It's like you don't always going to get caught up in a number.
No.
Yeah.
It's still just as important that you're doing something pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So Dusty.
Yep.
You have any questions for us?
What's next for you guys? I haven't even heard. I know. Well, Dave, I know what you've got, David. David, you've got you're doing is it the 50 miler? Yeah. So it's overnight. I'll be there with you.
Yeah.
So I'm planning on coming out there with you, but I don't know what Matt has.
I've got stump jump this weekend. So I got the 50K. So we'll see how that goes. And then we got a Crow Jewel 50 in May.
You're not racing stump jump though, are you?
We're gonna see how it goes.
You gonna try to race it?
Probably not, but I'm gonna try to go hold a consistent pace because it's all building up to Crow Jewel, and so I'll have the Knoxville Marathon and all that in between that, but it's all building up to Crow Jewel 50.
Where is stump jump?
Chattanooga.
That's what. I thought it was.
It's Jenny's race, Bad Beard Events.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll be there. I'll be there to see Matt start for Friction Prescription.
Yeah, we'll see.
We're supplying them all their products, so Matt will stay slippery.
Hey, I had no chafing on Sunday.
Love it.
None at all. I got in the shower, didn't feel a thing.
Man, let me tell you, I told somebody this yesterday, and it was funny. It was today at work. Someone was asking me about it because when people start finding out that I'm a race director, it's so funny because where I work at, they run a lot of our races. The company actually pays for people to enter our races, and I just, kind of cool. But they were finding out, and I said, well, I tell you what, I really put that stuff to the test on Sunday. I didn't even think about it. I ran with you, got in the car, drove to the other station, ran back, met you, went back to the car, drove to the finish line, ran back to you guys a little bit and ran back, waited at the finish line, drove home, which is like an hour drive.
Yeah.
Got out, carried some stuff in, or, got my stuff done and went and ran again. I never applied any more lube that whole time. And I had to run 26 miles and it was just like, that 26 miles, I ran it in 3 hours something, but that was spread out over 7 hours.
Yeah.
And I was telling the guys today, someone asked me about it. And I was like, I really, I'm really shocked. Most stuff I would have had to have probably reapplied for that last run after being in the car and drying off, but I didn't even think about it. I could have really screwed up. There's sometimes your brain just doesn't work when you're really tired.
Yep.
And I'm so thankful because that would have been a miserable run because it was already slow, dude. Like it was like an 11, 12. I mean, you look at those last 4 miles of that 26-mile I drove home. They were like 12-minute miles. They were often. I looked like Eddie Munster out there trying to run. Like I felt like I was starting day 3 of Ball State. You know, like
when we passed you, when you had already dropped out and we came by you, Mary said something like, yeah, he's doing some more miles right now. All of a sudden, you know, we got by you. I was like, okay, he's just trotting along. But all of a sudden I hear your footsteps behind me. I'm like, how is he running like this again? To be able to start and stop like that, that was impressive.
it was dumb. It was dumb. Because it really got me in the last run. But I was, it hurt. But, you know, I loosened up when I started going with you guys. But, man, it was dumb. Yeah, Mary said the same thing. She's like, I don't know if I could have done that. I'm like, you could have.
I could have.
You could have. I was like, but I told her, too. I was like, it was just dumb. But I said, I wanted Dusty to have some footage. You know, like, so that's why I did it. And it's not the best footage, but, you know, I'm trying to run a 650 pace, hold my phone, and my legs are hurting.
Should have brought you Insta360.
I know, right? But Dusty, man, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your story.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you all. I appreciate it.
You've got a really, really long history of running, even though you just started in like 2013? Is that when you started?
Yeah, I was 20. Yeah,
and I did not realize that Greg was the one that got you started. So for anybody that's listening that has no idea, I've worked with Greg for years till I just switched jobs. So I know Greg. I actually knew Greg before I knew Dusty.
Yeah.
Because Greg had ran some of our ultra events.
Yep.
You know, he likes to come out there and grind it and grit it out, and he's good at it.
He'll be out at the 4th this year.
Yes,
he will.
I love it. But you know,
that race. He comes back.
I never knew that he was the reason you started running. So that's cool. Like we all have, you know, our whys and our reasons, and, you know, there's things that go back that make us decide to choose to run, or why we get into anything. And I think it's cool that it's your brother. And then, you know, the divorce part, I totally understand. You know, if you're going through something like that, it's hard, and you've got to find something for you. And I know that sounds kind of selfish, but you do, or you'll go crazy.
Yeah.
And you know, you just have to clear your mind. So with your brother getting you, you know, the wheels turning and getting you started, and then the divorce happening, probably kind of put it into overdrive too.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of what happened with me. I didn't run at all until I started getting a divorce, and I just needed to clear my mind. And me and Mike started running. And it turned into more than running, you know. And I mean, hell, if you'd asked me in 2015 when I started running if I would be hosting a podcast or be running East Coast Adventures or starting a lube business, you know, no, and no. But here we are. So it's kind of fun just to think about how one small decision one day can impact your entire life. It's one decision. It's just like Matt. Matt saw the sign for East Coast Adventures at his gym.
Yep.
He had quit running years ago, and just started running with us. And now he's part of East Coast Adventures. He's a race director. He's the co-host with me. You know, like it's all of this is from one decision. And I say all that to say, like, if you're listening today, like, you know, you don't ever have to do any of this stuff alone. Like, come volunteer with us, come run with us, come do something, be a part of ECA family. If you don't have anybody, come be with us, because we'll have fun and we'll treat you just like we're family.
Oh yeah.
So please come join us. And, you know, Dusty has seen that. Yep. And Dusty is a part of that family too. And his wife is as well. And, you know, Ashley was on the team last year. Yep. She's also been a photographer for us several times, and she will be again, I'm sure, in the future.
Yep.
But I say all that because, you know, we all struggle. We all have problems. None of us are perfect. I mean, whether you run a 6-hour marathon or a 12-hour marathon, we don't care. Come join us, because that's really what it's all about. And after seeing the Taco Bell 50K this weekend, I believe that even more.
Oh yeah.
I've never seen so many people happy. It was the coolest thing to see. Like, I mean, every now and then, you know, like when you're in an ultra, you'll see someone that's not having a good day and they're just down. You know, like, and I get that. Like, you put in a lot of work. If you have a bad day, you throw up at mile 4 of a 50K, you know, like you're upset. But this Taco Bell was like it was literally just a fun day for everybody. And I mean, even the people that DNF'd drove to the finish line and were just so happy. Like, they were excited. Like, they said it was the funnest thing they've ever done. And I'm like, well, that's awesome. Like, so try something new, you know, like, just try to be a part of something, and it can make all the difference in the world. And Dusty, man, we appreciate you so much. Honestly, you don't know how much we appreciate you. Thank you for being a part of the team. You're a role model to many. And, you know, you've been doing this for a long time, and we truly appreciate you. You give advice to people in our community.
Yep.
You know, I've seen it firsthand. Matt has too. And we just truly want to say thank you. And thank you for taking the time to be on this podcast and sharing your journey. And I guarantee you, some people are going to be inspired from this podcast, because I'm sure they had no idea, just like I did, that you've been trying to get that time for 10 years.
Yeah.
And that says a lot about you. Like, that's consistency, and that's being consistent, and that's being persistent. And, like, you know, all of those above. And, like, you could have gave up a million times. When you got that femur, you could have just when you got that stress fracture in your femur, you could have threw in the towel.
Yeah.
But you didn't.
Yeah.
Because those are the defining moments and those little decisions that add up. And, like, that's why you're here now. Every decision you made to get that Peloton, to do all the things you did, to get a new coach, to do the things you did, all lined you up for success. And, like, it's hard to ever, you know, we all don't give ourselves that credit to step back and think about all the little decisions we make and where we're at. Like, to be thankful for all of that.
Mm-hmm.
We just don't do that enough. I know I don't. And I hope you realize, like, how cool it was what you just did this past weekend.
Well, I appreciate that. I don't think I'm too special. It's my story. Everybody's got their own stories, but yeah, this was mine. And, you know, that was like I said, that was my hurdle I was trying to cross. Yeah. It took me 10 years. I guess you said persistent. I say stubborn. I'm a little stubborn, but no, I appreciate you guys. And yeah, I mean, you guys have built a community. It's not like any other. The community aspect of ECA is the best part about it. The races are fun. Obviously, there's a ton that goes into it, but when it comes down to it, if anybody talks about ECA, it's about the community. It's about how they feel, how they are made to feel when they are at the races, and it's the interactions with you all, with people on the team. But, you know, that's all stemming from you guys. You know, the team is only as good as its leader, and you guys are the leaders for it. So you guys get all the credit for that. So I appreciate you having me on, but yeah, you know, send it right back to you. I mean, you guys are creating all of this, so credit has to go to you all.
Well, thank you, but the credit's to all of us.
Yeah.
And you said one thing on there that I think is really important, and I just want to make sure that we all know this. We're all special, period. You know, like, truly, like, you say that, like, you know, what I did's not special, but you worked your ass off for that. That's pretty special. And that goes for everybody.
Yeah.
Like, we're all doing things, you know. I mean, Matt, I remember when Matt come to when Matt came to Fort Frenzy the first year, he couldn't run the whole 6 hours.
Nope.
Yeah.
He died.
Yep.
I mean, he was hobbling along those last 2. He didn't ever quit.
No.
But he wasn't moving fast.
That was my first 6-hour event.
You know, and that's what I love about it. So, you know, I think everybody is special in their own right on what they're capable of and pushing their capability. And you did that. And I can't wait to see how much more you do, man. Thank you for everything you do in our community. Thank you for volunteering at these races. And thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah. Thank you all. I appreciate you all.
We thank the world of you and Ashley. So we appreciate you guys.
Yeah. I married up. Somebody said that. That's one thing I'll leave you with. Mary, on the last few miles, we're like 24. I'm not talking to anybody. I'm dying. But Mary and Stu were talking, and Kiara said something about my wife was cute. You know, she saw her on the course, and Stu goes, "Yeah, he married up." So, so if you're talking about Ashley, yeah, I'm married up.
You've got a good one.
Yeah, she's a great one.
Well, Dusty, thank you so much for taking the time to be on this podcast. We truly appreciate you, man.
Thank you all.